Hello, good morning, and welcome to Revelator Alf. Yes, it's a morning start here in the UK. Some news coming in overnight, so I thought I'd come in with a bit of a breakfast show for you. Obviously, that's for you in the UK or in Europe, but if it's anywhere else in the world, if you're in Australia, let's say, it's probably an evening meal. And if you're in United States or Canada, then it's probably midnight. Probably need to get to bed. But anyway, let's dig into this. Today's show is I'm going to bring you a bit of news from the motorcycle world, and then we're really going to talk a little bit about the backlash or the perceived backlash, I suppose, that the Harley Davidson Sportster S has got, or Harley Davidson themselves have got. If you watch my live show the other day when it was revealed, yeah, they had a few technical problems, didn't they, with the launch? But I personally, I thought I was a bit underwhelmed by the whole thing. I thought there was a little bit too much chaff. There was a little bit too much talking about the history of the old Sportster, as in in inverted commas. But I was just a little bit underwhelmed. Anyway, so since then I've been doing a bit of research and listening to the commentary in the ether out there, and I've got to say, well, it hasn't been great, I don't think. There's been a bit of a mixed reaction, but I also think this. Let's just get into this, and then we'll talk about it in depth a little bit later on. But I think lots of people have been quick to criticize here and quick to judge a bike that they haven't even seen in the flesh, and also haven't even ridden yet. So let's just hold our dissension before we actually condemn this bike and condemn Harley Davidson, because I think there are a lot of positives to gain from it, but also I think there are a lot of negatives as well. But look, this is the bike here, as on the website. It's it's okay, I suppose. From the profile, it looked quite nice. I was quite pleasantly surprised. But I say that it wasn't a major detraction, or not detraction. It wasn't a major change from all those early photos that we saw from 2 or 3 years ago. So I think there wasn't a lot of surprises. I thought there was going to be a few more surprises. Let's face it, they've had a couple of years to figure this out. The video itself, or the launch video, they made a big play about picking accent pieces from past Sportsters. But I think possibly they picked too many, and possibly they didn't really create a bike that really, grabbed you by the nuts, as it were. But look, that's opinion. That's opinion. Here we go. A couple of people in the chat already. Hello, Just Dad. Hello. Too early, too late for you, I would have thought. And Throttle Snap. What a great name. I have a Dyno Lowrider S, and think anyone who has a problem with the new Sportster S is I won't say that because we won't allow swearing on here. The Sportster was cutting edge technically when HD first made it, and it's good to see it so again. Well, okay, that's a good, interesting point. Is it cutting edge? Possibly for Harley Davidson, but in terms of liquid-cooled engines, water-cooled engines, no, I wouldn't say so. Variable valve timing, no, I wouldn't say so. But having this kind of engine in this style bike, no, I wouldn't say so either. So it's, we've got to temper our enthusiasm, but also our ability to criticize here. Good morning, Sarge. Hello. Good morning, sir. How are you? Yeah, your watch with your fat bob. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's an interesting look, this new sport. So I mean, the overwhelming perception I have of this bike, or the lasting memory, I should say, lasting impression. That's the right word, lasting impression, is that this bike was too small for the riders. Okay, it was just too small for the riders that was shown on it. Jochen Zeitz and Mr. Davidson himself. It was just too small. And it seems as if you were perched on top of it. And I say in the live show, I talked about that as well. It just didn't seem quite right. It seemed as if, you were, it was two, you were just perched on top. It was almost like it was a motorcycle caricature rather than a reveal. I think, you know, if you're gonna look at this bike here and say, right, well, let's look at this bike. They made a big play of the seat, right? They made a big play of the seats. They made a big play of, you know, its influences and everything. But I think in this kind of bike, that seat needs to be sunk down a little bit. Maybe the bike needs to be jacked up a little bit. Maybe it needs to be on steroids a little bit. You know, there's lots of maybes for me. Now, of course, lots of people have already said, as I said initially, I've been saying this the whole time, this is not going to be the only Sportster. There's going to be lots of variations on it. I am convinced. There's going to be lots of different engine sizes on it. I'm convinced. And I've also said this, that the bike and the Pan America, this Sportster S is not the story. The story is the Revolution Max engine, and as it goes forward, as the world starts to waken up to Harley Davidson starting to use liquid cooled engines or water cooled engines, you know, with aplomb, let's say. But was this the right style to launch with? Was this the right bike to launch with? I thought they could have launched with something a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more different. So again, it's an opinion, and I've also said this as well. And let me know your thoughts in the comments or in the chat afterwards as well. But you know, we could be proven completely wrong here when we all get to ride this or test ride this bike whenever it comes out in 3 or 4 months' time, whenever it is. I did notice a couple of people claimed that they'd already ridden it and they didn't like it at all. I'm not, yeah, I mean, unless you work for the factory, the company, and you're, you know, giving out inside information, I'm not sure how you would have ridden this bike. You know, unless you're in the know, unless you're in some kind of early press release or early marketing. So I think that, you know, there could be some spurious claims coming out by some people or some negative claims coming out by some people. But I do think they could have launched with something a little bit more dynamic and I think a little bit more beefier. But as I said, there are going to be lots of different variants of this bike, lots of different engine combinations or CC combinations, because why wouldn't you start this new Sportster era, if we're going to call it that? I've just called it that. It could be, you know, this new Sportster era, right? You know, why wouldn't you start it off with a particular model and then just give yourself the latitude to increase the power output or decrease the power output or change the style or change, you know, give you bulk standard Sportsters which you can build on? Why wouldn't you go into the future with a whole new accessory range? Why wouldn't you invite the aftermarket world to try and throw their hat in the ring and see what they can come out with? Why don't you look at the custom bike world and, you know, have a Sportster king of the world, as it were, a custom king of the world? You know, the future is positive for Harley Davidson. The future is bright for Harley Davidson in terms of this model series. Do I think this model was, you know, shock and awe? Wow, no, no. Not for me. It just didn't do it for me. But as I say, you know, I could be alone. I could be alone in that. You know, but as I say, reading by the ether, reading by the comments, other quick videos that I've seen, you know, there have been some positives, of course, lots of positives. There always are positives, but there were lots of negatives as well, and that's where I think, you know, lots of people saying, well, I'm just going to stick to the old Sportster. Well, the Sportster's not going anywhere. Okay, they may have stopped selling it here in Europe, and I think they're still selling it in the US and Canada, but how long the older Sportster's got, who knows? You know, probably not very long at all, given by what's happening right now around the world in terms of emission standards and all that kind of stuff. So it would be an interesting one to see what if we had to compare sales figures now for this new Sportster, the Sportster S, and existing Sportster models in the US. which will people lean to? What will be the price difference? What will you be buying for an 883 or 1200, in the US, let's say? I've got to say, if it was down to me, and I've always said this, I've nailed my colors to the mast so many times on the Sportster model. I've always said that the Sportster for me has been pound for pound, inch by inch, centimeter by centimeter, angle by angle, the best looking Harley Davidson out there, the best proportioned out there, I should say, that's ever been. If you consider the whole lineage, the whole history of it, the way it's changed, the way it's been modified, the way it's opened up to new riders coming into to it, I don't think you can match that. You don't think you can match that. No other Harley Davidson. I don't think many other motorcycles in the world, in history, have ever had that much influence on not only on riding styles but also on culture that the Sportster has. I mean, I certainly can't think one. Yes, other motorcycles have sold more. Yes, other motorcycles have been raced more, but I don't think so. But so will people still lean towards the old Sportster? Will there be a big price difference? Are people going to say, right, we're not going to go in for this brand new Sportster S, we just want to ride our old Sportster? There's one thing to note here. The power difference and the way these new bikes will ride will be something completely different. If you've never ridden, if you've only ever known Harley Davidsons, if you've only ever known air-cooled engines, it will be night and day the way these ride, the way the engines perform, I should say, not the way they ride, because the chassis is going to be a totally different thing. That will be the real test for this bike. And will it be a market leader? Will it be, a sector leader? I'm not so sure. Now, obviously, I think that they're going after Indian here, and they're really, they can see Indian coming up, and they're saying, right, here comes the big wooden paddle. We're going to smack you right down. Get back, Indian. Get back in your place. You're not here. You're not going to challenge us. I think that's what they've gone with this Sportster. However, some of those Indian bikes, which are in the same sort of sector, the reports that I've read, the people that I've spoken to, they are great little fun bikes, but they're not comfortable in any way, shape, or form. And it seems as if, and I have to refresh my memory on the suspension setup on this new Sportster, but it does seem as if that this new Sportster will have the same kind of characteristics. Be fun to ride, great to ride, and it won't be for those people who are looking for a comfortable ride. Let's put it that way. Rear shocks, here we go. Linked mount, piggyback, monoshock with compression, rebound and hydraulic spring preload adjustability. Front fork is 43 millimeter inverted front fork with compression, rebound, and spring preload adjustability. Nice. Aluminium fork. Yeah, aluminium fork, triple clamps. I mean, that's basically what it's saying. Will it be a comfortable ride? I don't think so. Will it be an impressive ride in terms of what many might be used to in terms of performance? Yes, no doubt. The performance will be there. Will it lead the way in the sector? It will certainly compete. It will certainly give Indian a run for its money, no doubt. But will it be better than other liquid-cooled engines or other liquid-cooled brands in the market? Well, I think that's just going to come down to style thing. I think, the decision of style, decision of what you want from a bike. But, can you honestly say that this engine is going to be better than other manufacturers that have been doing it for years and years and years? Oh, it'd be very hard to say. That'd be a very hard sell for me. Just add here, let me just put this up. I had a Sportster for 10 years, have no problem with what I see now. In fact, I find it interesting. I'll reserve criticism until seeing one in person and test ride one. It has a very good horsepower. Yeah, look, it does. I mean, I think I saw a comment from you yesterday where, kind of backlashing the backlash, as it were. People commenting on what, I got lots of comments. Why wasn't this given the full 150 horsepower like the Pan America? Different bike, different, riding style, different riding ethos, let's say, for this. Did it really need the power? And I said at the time, this lends itself to people, or in the future, them bringing out a Sportster ST, let's say, a top of the range, a top performance one as well. So, it lends itself to building on from there. They've kind of come in at the middle ground here, and that's it. Does it need the power? Does the Pan American need that full power? No, it doesn't. I think lots of people were saying that the Pan American needs that power for off-road. It doesn't. It does not need that power. In fact, in off-road mode, it really cuts down that power. You don't need it. You don't need high power for off-road. That's a popular misconception. Unless you're going fast, unless you're trying to get up a real, steep hill, let's say, in a kind of sporty mode. But you don't need a lot of power per se. You need a fair amount of power, but not, you don't need brute power. Daryl, here we go. Am I going to test ride one? Well, I tell you what, as soon as it comes out here in the UK, yes, I would love to throw my hat in the ring and go and test ride one. I just by the pictures that I've seen, just by what we've seen already, Sportsters for me, although I love them, they're just too small for me because I'm quite a big guy. So I just look as if I'm, the big marshmallow man from Ghostbusters on it, or the Michelin man, as we call it over here. Probably got that in other parts of the world as well. The old Michelin man kind of looked a bit too big on it, and I think this would be exactly the same. Just as Josh Insights and Mr. Davidson were on the in the video as well. I thought they just looked too big on it, and I think this this will be good for shorter riders, definitely riders with shorter legs, possibly. For me, I think I'll be sat too high on it, too exposed. There'll be nothing in front of me. There are other bikes I've ridden, not Harley Davidson's, other bikes I've ridden. I've had exactly the same feeling, that it's just not a nice riding experience. I do like to feel that either I'm on a sports bike and I'm cocooned within it, let's say, I'm sunk within it, I'm ready to go, or I like to feel that I'm partly surrounded by the bike. Other people will be different. Other people will like that. I mean, if this is more of I wouldn't say a street fighter riding stance, but it's it's got that kind of element for me. It's just not great. I mean, the Backlash, lots of other people have been talking about this bike. Was it the right bike to bring out? Was it the right bike? I'm going to say hello to camera 2 up there, by the way. Look at that. Just figured out how to do that yesterday. But look, was it the right bike to bring out? I'm not so sure. Was it the right model to bring out? The right variation? I'm not so sure. I mean, you can tell, people within Harley Davidson right now, they're beavering away. They've probably got 10 other designs already lined up. So it's, I'm not going to be critical of Harley Davidson for what they've done, and I'm not going to be critical for where they can go. And I definitely have faith in this bike that it would be a leap forward in terms of technology, in terms of performance, in terms of handling. So it will tick so many boxes for that evolution, if you want to call it, as they've called it, I should say. The evolution to revolution. That the way the company is moving forward, I'm just not sure that this model was the right one to launch with. Personally, I would like to speak with the guys at Harley Davidson directly, and I want them to explain to me why they supposedly have ditched the Bronx. Why have they ditched the Bronx? I don't think they have. I think it's coming out. I think it will. Why have they launched with this Sportster S instead of the Bronx, first of all? Because it was always about the Pan American and the Bronx, wasn't it? It was always about those two. That's what we always had. We went to the shows, we touched them, we had a look at them. We were looking and think, oh, that'd be interesting. That'd be interesting to see on the street. That Bronx, that Street Fighter. I personally would have seen this Harley Davidson coming out with a Street Fighter style bike, a street bike, and I would be thinking to myself, this is what I'd be thinking. Harley Davidson, they've come out of the dark ages. Harley Davidson, they're now definitely trying to attract a new type of rider, not a rider that wants to ride something similar to what Harley Davidson have always produced, but a new type of rider, a rider from another brand, and possibly, definitely a younger rider. Okay, so that's what the Bronx would have, or whatever you want to call it, the Bronx, the Street Fighter, whatever. That's what would have signified to me. That's what Harley Davidson would have said to me as an observer, as a punter, something like that. But no, this Sportster S kind of tells me, well, look, it's still Harley Davidson, it's still the same stuff, but you got a liquid cooled engine. And maybe that's where it's going to fail. Maybe it's not, it doesn't have that real big wow factor for other people who are not within the Harley Davidson bubble. I'm in the Harley Davidson bubble, but I'm also out of it as well. I'm always looking at other markets, always looking at other brands, and I always have an interest in other bikes as well. And I can't see many people from outside the Harley Davidson world really being attracted to this. I can't see it. I could be wrong, and I probably am, because I usually am, but I could be wrong on this. However, the Bronx, I think, would have had a much more of an impact. It would definitely have got the lips flapping, the tongues wagging. It would have caused inches and inches, or created inches of columns, of press releases, let's say, of people making videos, because it would be completely different. Now that is a complete departure for Harley Davidson, not this Sportster S. The Sportster S is a departure from old Sportster, no doubt. It's a departure from air-cooled engines, no doubt, but they've done it before. V-Rod. People are talking about, oh, this is the new V-Rod. I think this is different. This is a different era. This is a different way of looking at things. And Harley Davidson have done themselves proud, I think, in producing a bike and taking that. I just think they've launched with the wrong model. I think they've launched with the wrong style, the wrong variant as well. Should they look? If a Harley Davidson is listening, of course they are. They always listen to my shows. Of course they do. Jason Zeitz, you're a regular viewer, and thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. All the guys at Harley Davidson, I really appreciate it. But I have regular conversations with the guys in the design, in the futures, in the technical department of Harley Davidson. Yeah, they all come to me and they all ask my opinion. But unfortunately, this last time they didn't. They didn't ask my opinion, and this is what I would have told them about this launch. I said, right, okay, if you want to go with the Sportster S as your number one model launch, then you cannot have it standalone. You've got to tell people that actually this is the flagship, or this is the standard. In the future, we're going to tell you can have this. Everybody would be like, okay, wow, this is this is the dawn of a new era. This is Harley Davidson, getting into 2025, 2026, 2042. This is Harley Davidson. But no, it wasn't. It was kind of, yeah, okay, look, this is a new bike. This is, a new generation. I've, the other problem I have with it is the way they launched it, and maybe you're with me, maybe I stand alone on this, but Harley Davidson in themselves, they're a huge company, they're a huge marketing machine. Do you know what? They are a huge marketing machine. They've caught. They've championed the lifestyle thing for years and years and years. They've championed so many different things. They've led the way in so many different things. They've held firm. They've held fast on their style, what they believe in, all this kind of stuff. So we all know about Harley Davidson, right? Whether we like them or hate them, or whether they make us mad or make us happy, we know what they're about. But what they what they haven't done here is that they haven't really grasped modern reality for me. And I know this is a bit deep and when we're talking about motorcycles, but they haven't really grasped modern reality. Because if you watch that video, that launch video, did it give you the sense that they really knew what the future was? For me, they seem to be so focused on back to where the Sportster started and all the history. We had the little launch with Jason Momoa again, his lineage film. Great. I don't have anything against Jason Momoa, of course. He's too big for me to have anything against him. but it's just like again. And look, I think if Harley Davidson are going to promote their history and the way they are and what they've produced, yes, Jason Momoa and his passion for vintage bikes and old style bikes, great. I have no problem with that because I'm right there with him. I love that. And I would love to be in his video with him as well, or making the videos with him, or making the films with him. Absolutely brilliant. Love it. But if we're talking a new generation, a new era, why are you getting somebody like that who's so loving the past vintage Harley Davidson to promote your Pan America, to promote your Livewire, to promote this? There seems to be disparity. In their launch video, they're focusing so much on the past, and then eventually they come out with some news of the new Sportster. It seemed to be a bit too skewed. For me, I would say, I personally, I'm not a marketing expert, of course, and those within the Harley Davidson marketing department will be scoffing at what I'm saying. I'm sure they would be, and they have their right to say that as well. But if I was within the Harley Davidson marketing department, I would say, right, stop, hold your horses now. What are we trying to say? What is the message that we are trying to say here? The message is that we've evolved. We have evolved from our primitive ways, let's say, and now we've got a revolution in the way we're going to be doing business, a revolution in the way we're going to be making our engines, a revolution in the way we perform as motorcycles. That's the revolution. We've evolved from caveman, and we're in, flags flying. That's it. Trumpets playing, all that kind of stuff. That's what it is. So to capture that, this is how you start a video. Black screen, opens up, fireworks, explosions, and then out of a silhouette appears, and it is the Sportster S. That kind of thing. It's that kind of launch. That's how you start something like this. It's cheesy. Of course it is. I know it is, but I'm just kind of mocking myself here as well. But you start with that. You start with what it is. 121 horsepower, variable valve timing. It's got, adjustable preload and compression, front and rear suspension, whatever. It's got Brembo brakes or whatever it is. It hasn't got Brembo brakes, but you know what I mean. You start with that. That's what it is. That's what it is. Then you cut in with a bit of video footage of it being raced, right? Race. It's a Sportster S. You know, getting somebody, give a front camera on somebody riding it and doing this, pinging it. That's what you want. You want to evoke that fun, that Sportster heritage, if you will. You know, that's where it's going. Say, right, we've done that. Now ping it. Let's go. Now you're on a twisty, right? Into the twisty, you know, into the right bend, into the left bend. That, you know, that's the kind of thing that they needed to do. And you know, this is not saying to the rest of the world this is going to be the best sports bike. This is saying to the rest of the world, we have moved on. This is going to be a new generation bike, new generation engine. This is what you can do with it. This is the new fun that you can have with it. But no, what they did, they spent 10 minutes talking about the history of the Sportster. Well, great. We already know that. What do we need to know that for? We want to know about the new bike. You know, it's like you go into a reveal of, you know, a new bikini range, you know, from, you know, some new models or something. And then they start talking about grandma knickers. Well, great. I don't want to know about grandma knickers. You know, I want to know about, you know, the new bikinis from, you know, these new models. I mean, that's kind of what it stuck to me for anyway. Joris, good morning. Good morning. How are you? So look, I mean, I would say let's get a comment here. Sarge, I'm with you about the Bronx. When they binned it, I couldn't understand why. The Bronx, in my opinion, was the bike that would have brought new riders to the brand. I agree, and I feel it would have cost a lot less as well. Possibly, and you know, I mean, look, this is the other thing. There's a big backlash as well about the pricing of this. You know, we're talking what, nearly 14,000 in the UK, nearly 15,000 in the US. Around Europe, I think it's 15,000 and a half, 15,300, something like that. In some countries, I think it's in Holland, it's coming in at 17,000 euros because they've got an extra tax, an import tax on all vehicles, I think it is. You know, so it's you know, it's going to be it's an interesting price point. I've got to say, I think it's overpriced. I think it's overpriced for what it is. Because if you're talking about, let's just say if this is a signature model, which it'll never be because it's not full power, let's say, but if this is a signature model, right? Well, you don't launch with your signature model. You don't launch with your top of the range model because you know what? You've got nowhere to go. You kind of launch with your middle model, your base model. But I don't think this is even base model. This is too expensive for base model. So it's kind of somewhere in between. So it's between base and, you know, top of the range, let's say. So it kind of comes in like that. But this is the bike that's supposed to be the dawn of a new era. This is the bike that's supposed to, you know, attract a lot of people. So let's just say this. If you're looking for a bit of performance and you're looking for a bit of Harley Davidson, let's say, and you're looking for a bit of fun, let's say, why would you go for something like this and not go for something like, still go for something like I don't know, something like a Street Bob, let's say, with a 114 engine now. You know, that will give you so much more fun, so much more street cred, let's say, and so much more performance in terms of, you know, the way it makes you feel, that usable performance. Whereas this, it kind of saying, right, all of a sudden you're throwing your hat into the ring with a Sportster S with a liquid-cooled engine, and then all of a sudden now you have to compete with all the other brands in the world who produce liquid-cooled engines, and they're producing very basic bikes, some of them with liquid-cooled engines, with different CC, you know, liquid-cooled engines, much smaller engines, but they're going to outperform this bike. They're going to outperform it, and you know what? It will cost a fraction. It costs a fraction. So, and okay, yes, granted, they won't be selling bikes, with the style that the Sportster has, Sportster S has. But you take my point, you know. Just build a bike similar to the 97 XLCR with a 1250 engine may move me from my Thruxton R. It'll be the fourth bike, so exciting, styling, and good performance. Well, the XLCR is my favorite bike of all time. I say that all the time. So it's look, if they had something like that has, but the XLCR was a higher bike. It's a higher bike. Well, from my impressions, it was jacked up a little bit more. This seems to be a little bit too low slung. It's a little bit too. It's a confusing bike for me, this Sportster S. It really is. It's a confusing bike because I think it could have been, something so much more. But look, there is definitely a backlash out there. There's definitely people out there who are not happy about this Sportster S. As I said, I'm going to reserve judgment. I will be reserving judgment until I see it in the flesh myself, and I see exactly what it has to offer. What this bike would give for me would be a totally different experience what it would give for other people, no doubt. Just looking at it there, I think it looks a lot better with a windshield on here, with the accessory. I think with the little tail pack, it makes it look okay, but I think it's still a little bit too straight. That tank, that tank could have just been sitting a little bit higher, to give the illusion that it was a little, that you were sunk down into the bike a little bit more. Look, we could all criticize the styling cues of this bike. We could all criticize the way it looks or whatever. Now, look at this. This is the. Let me try and get this picture up for you there. Look at the picture here of this person riding the Sportster S. This has got mid-mounted controls on it. I'm sure foot controls. I'm sure of it, or foot pegs, I should say. Certainly not forward-mounted. But look, they are quite a short rider by the looks of it. I can't really tell whether it's a man or a woman. I think my impression is it's a woman riding it. I'm not saying this is a woman's bike at all. I'm not saying that at all. Just in case somebody was thinking that I'm saying that. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying it's a shorter rider, okay? A shorter and more petite rider. Let's put it that way, okay? Whether you're a man or woman doesn't make a difference. This picture, this rider is in proportion with the bike. And I think this is a great picture. It's a great picture of this rider, this dimensions of this rider on this bike. Now, if you put somebody like me on there, or any other big bloke or whatever, or a tall person who's tall as well, they're going to just look sitting too proud on it. So, but look, that is a nice picture. That is a nice angle for this Harley Davidson. That looks really nice. Let me just put that up there. That's really nice. And look, there's some really nice features on this bike. Now, definitely. I mean, look, the classic meets modern. So look, there's definitely some nice things that they've done with these exhausts as well. There's definitely some nice things as well. And I like this engine reveal here. Many people will be saying that these exhausts will be changed. They'll be looking at different, or in the aftermarket world, they'll be looking at, putting underslung exhausts or whatever. Whether that will be possible or not, I'm sure, lots of people will come up, or lots of companies will come up with options in the future. Maybe Harley Davidson themselves will come up with a different solution for these exhausts as well. They've got the heat shields on here there. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of heat from these exhausts as well. Whether that will be a problem for riders in the future, I mean, who knows? Who knows? But anyway, look, look, we can only reserve judgment until this thing actually comes out. But there's definitely been a backlash out there. There's definitely been people saying it's overpriced. too expensive for what it is. We don't need it. Obviously, there's the reaction to the liquid cooled bike in itself. Kind of 50-50, I would say, from what I've seen. Some people like it, some people don't like it. Some people like the thought of this new bike coming, and what it stands for and what the future can hold for Harley Davidson, or for what it might mean for other riders in the future as well. But I think, look, for me, I would say to anybody, somebody asked me before, would I like to ride it? Yes, because I'd like to ride any bike. Would I like to test ride any bike? Absolutely. No problem with that whatsoever. Put me on a Honda Cub, one of my favorite bikes of all time. I'd love it, and I enjoy the experience. Put me on a little Pooch Maxi, put me on a little moped. Got no problem with riding any kind of bikes. I absolutely love riding bikes. Always have done. Ever since I was a kid. Always loved riding bikes. But if you ask me about riding bikes and owning bikes, totally different. That's a totally different question. That's a totally different discussion. Okay. And we all know that. Okay. Whether you ride a bike or whether you own a bike, whether you buy one yourself, is a totally different thing. So would I buy this Sportster? No. Is the answer? No. So am I that bothered? Let's say, am I that concerned whether it looks right, whether it feels right? No, not really, because I already know when I get on that bike, judging by the dimensions of it, and judging by that, I can already see that I'm going to be too big looking on that bike, and it's going to be awkward for me to ride it unless you make big changes to it in terms of handlebar height and all that kind of stuff. So I know it's not going to be for me. I also think that possibly the styling of it is not to my taste. That's not a criticism of it. That's just something that my personal choice and my personal taste would be that I don't particularly like what I've seen of it. I much preferred the Bronx as a concept bike, as a bike. I also thought that the Bronx would have struggled in the sector, but I think that would have been a lot more exciting, definitely. But this bike, I'm not overwhelmed with enthusiasm about it. But do I want to ride it? Absolutely. Do I really want to see if it's got some good performance? Do I want to see how it acts in the bends, in the twisters? Absolutely. That's what I want to see. And I can't wait for content to come out on YouTube or on social media or on websites or blogs or on the motorcycling press all around the world, where they're putting this out, where they're testing this bike, and they're showing you, no, it's a good fun bike. It's very rare in motorcycle press these days where they're ultra critical of a bike, because they have relationships to protect as well. People have got to understand that. Even YouTubers as well, a lot of these days, many of those will never be ultra critical of a particular bike because they have future relationships to make sure that they protect as well. They got a particular dealership, let's say, that's where they're going to get all their bikes from. So they're not going to slate a bike off because, it might affect their relationship with a dealership to get future rides as well. So I get that. But if you have somebody that's independent, I've always said, that's why I don't do many motorcycle reviews, because I say, well, if I'm offered a review, or I get a bike, my hands on a bike, it's always on the provision that it's either a bike I'm going to ride myself, or I'm interested in buying a bike that I'm really interested in covering, or that the only way I will review it if it is completely independent. I'm a completely independent, and come what may, it'll be an honest, but it will be balanced review of that bike. So I think, people reviewing this bike, this Sportster S, I think there's going to be a lot of praise for it from the motorcycling press. There's going to be lots of people saying how fantastic it is. But I think it's only until you get independent reviewers looking at it who are not concerned about future relationships that you'll really start getting balanced views of this, balanced opinions of it, how it really rides, what it's really like in the twists, how practical it is or impractical it is. You know, is it good for the long tour? Is it good for, which I don't think it will be, right? Is it good as a bar hopper, you know, one of these, you know, evening ride bikes? What about, you know, when you put accessory seat on, you know, taking a pillion on with you? What's that like? You know, so all this kind of comes into the fore, doesn't it? All this is going to be relevant in the future. Right now, all we've got is pictures. Right now, we've got a video launch that wasn't that impressive, right? That stalled at the start. We're all scrambling around, or certainly I was thinking, is it my internet? Isn't it my internet? People saying, yeah, it's your internet. No, it's not my internet. Different parts of the world, it seemed to play a little bit sooner. It was a bit of a farce, really. But then you look at the video and you think, well, okay, you know, it is what it is. But we won't know. We can't pass judgment, real judgment, until we actually see this bike in the flesh and sit on it and ride it. We just don't know. Is this the death of Harley Davidson? No, it's not the death of Harley Davidson. In fact, this could be the model, the engine. I should say. I keep on getting back to the engines. This is the engine that is going to drive Harley Davidson forward into the future. Look, they've already done the electric thing. They've already got electric bikes. Yeah, they've got a brand new company now, Livewire. Yeah, okay. But essentially, they've opened the door to all EV bikes, right? Just like a lot of other motorcycle manufacturers, they've gone into the bicycle world again. Triumph have done it. Harley Davidson have done it. Electric bikes, this is, yeah. Triumph have done it. Harley Davidson have done it. Ducati are doing it. MV Agusta are doing it. Lots of other premium brands, signature brands as well, are looking at that kind of thing, diversifying their range, diversifying what they're doing. So I think this is a perfect thing for Harley Davidson to be doing in terms of liquid cooled engines, this Revolution Max engine. The Revolution is, you know, expanding what they can do. Just think of what this engine or similar engines that they can produce, the whole world, what it could open to. But it just won't be the air-cooled world, will it? It would just be this, a liquid-cooled world. You know, look, if I ask my son or kids of his age, you know, what do they think about, Harley Davidsons or, you know, air-cooled engines or whatever like that, they'll be like, oh, granddad bikes, old man's bikes. You know, who cares? If they even know, if they even care. But, you know, give them a little sporty bike or something like a little Street Fighter, something like that. You know, if they're even into motorcycles. Most younger people aren't really into motorcycles like our generation was. So, you know, it's interesting one. Let's just say, wrong one there. Just it all depends on how you look at it. Some people like the cruiser style, yeah, sure. Some don't, and I believe that it is in line to attract people who would otherwise never choose a Harley. Well, I'm not so sure about that. I'm not possibly. I'm not so sure that people who wouldn't normally choose a Harley are going to come to Harley Davidson because of this bike. I could be wrong. As I say, I usually am. I could be wrong. I'm not so sure that this, like the Sportster S, will do that for people. I say it could do, but I'd be very surprised. Daryl, here we go. People who would otherwise never choose a Harley still won't pick one. I put 13,000. This is a UK price here. £13,995 price tag. They've priced themselves out of that demographic. I would have to agree with you. And I said in the live stream the other day on the live launch, I think if this had come in at £2,000 or £3,000 less, I think if they, you know, talked about a £10,000-11,000 mark, I think you'd be attracting a lot more people. But I did a show the other day when I talked about Chinese motorcycle brands. Now, this is going off on a tangent, but it's kind of relevant. Chinese motorcycle brands are starting to produce now, or they will be releasing big engine motorcycles coming very soon. 750, 700s, 1000cc, 1200 cc's. Lots of manufacturers who are using Chinese manufacturing or Chinese motorcycle manufacturers themselves, they're all coming. They're all coming, and the bikes are looking pretty futuristic, and they're looking pretty decent. And who knows if they'll be reliable and practical and all those kind of things. Who knows? But if you asking a younger person, well, would I go for a Harley Davidson at £14,000-15,000, dollars, shekels, whatever, or do I go after this bike over here that's as powerful or more powerful, let's say, and it's a bit sporty, it's a bit more street, it's a bit more modern looking, it's a bit, it's cool. That still looks like an old man's bike. I want a new bike, and guess what? The price of these big engine Chinese, performance bikes are going to be £6,000 or £7,000. If you're coming in at a price point of a big bike at £6,000 or £7,000, £6,000 or £7,000. I'm talking new generation rider here, next generation rider, early 20s, let's say. They just graduated from their really small bikes. They want to go up to the next step. They want something a little bit bigger. They can get a brand new bike for £6,000 or £7,000. Well, that's a massive difference. It's a massive difference. Joris, maybe, but I'm not so sure about that. We'll have to wait and see what the sound numbers say. All right, look, absolutely right. This is all speculation right now. This is all opinion right now. This is not really my opinion either. A lot of what I'm talking about today, this is all about what the backlash has been, what the commentary has been, what people have said already. For me, I like the Cruiser style, so it would never be a bike for me, but I see why people would want this. Yeah, look. Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. So, there will be people out there who are, who are looking at this bike and they're thinking, will it suit me? Will it suit my riding style? Can I see myself riding this bike? I can definitely see myself riding it, but I can't see myself buying it. So as I said, wrong one. So it really depends on you, where you see this bike in the future. Do you see yourself on it? I say I can't see myself owning anything like this at all. I love the bike that I've got. There are other bikes that definitely want to have, other bikes I want to ride, but I'd be looking at, different applications of it. So it's this is an interesting one for lots of different reasons. Will it take off? The Pan America, I think, has been quite an initial success. Anyway, we'll have to see long-term figures. It'd be interesting to see where this motorcycle is manufactured as well. Will this be coming from the United States, or will this also be produced in Thailand as well for the European market? So we'll have to wait and see. I wasn't aware the other day that the Pan America is also being produced in Thailand as well. All bikes are coming from Thailand as well for the European market. I hadn't realized that. So it'd be interesting to see where this bike is going to be made. Is it purely going to be made in the United States or made elsewhere as well, other manufacturing plants? But look, I mean, I think it's an interesting bike. Definitely. I think it's, it'd be interesting to see how people react to it. This isn't the departure from Harley Davidson like the Pan America was. The Pan America was a massive departure. Okay, a massive departure, and they've done really well. They've got to be applauded for what they've done with the Pan America and how it's being received and how it's being ridden. And I've ridden it, I've reviewed it. You can go back into the archives on the channel and watch that if you wish. And it is there. It's there, and I had a lot of good things to say about it. But like big order adventure bikes, it's going to have its limitations. This, however, it's still within. Of what it's still within Harley Davidson's framework, isn't it? Still within Harley Davidson's way. The only real difference here is now that they got a new engine in it. That's it. You could have said to me, okay, or Harley Davidson could have said to the rest of the world, we're bringing out a brand new style Sportster. This is going to be called the Sportster S, but still use the old Sportster engine, right? So, people would be probably looking at it in the same way. They think, yeah or no, or yes or no. So that's it. But obviously now the difference is it's the engine. The engine is the difference. How will people react to it? If I had to put my neck on the line here, but be a betting man, which I'm not a betting man at all. Okay, I don't really like gambling at all. But if I was a betting man, I would say this: that the Sportster won't be around for a long time. Not this Sportster, definitely. With the engine, yes, but I think that there's going to be other variants of this, other model bikes of using this engine that are going to be a lot more popular in the future. Is this the bike for future Harley Davidson? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. And I think lots of people would welcome this, and lots of people would ride this, but I think it's only going to appeal to a certain people, there's certain type of people, but also, it's not going to attract new riders. It's not really going to attract young riders because of the styling, I think, one, but also I think because definitely the price. The price is just too much for what people are going to be willing to buy. Look, you're going to spend £14,000, $15,000, euros, whatever, shekels, whatever, right? But you want that Harley Davidson experience, that Harley Davidson rumble, that Harley Davidson, potato sound, that Harley, whatever. You want that, right? Well, you're not going to get that with this. Totally different sound, totally different engine, totally different way it performs. So you're not going to get it with this. So then you think, okay, well, why am I going over to Harley Davidson? Because I want this kind of lifestyle, this kind of sensation. There's something I've got in my head that I think, I think this is going to be great. But then you think, okay, well, why also am I going over to this? Well, am I going over to this because I've got this new engine? But is it any better than any other liquid cooled engine out there? Well, that's very, who knows? There are very strong Japanese engines out there. All the brands have got great engines. The engine, as I say, is going to be the strength of this bike going forward, because they just put it in so many different models, and they will put it in so many different models in the future. There will be so many different bikes, so many different variations of this Sportster. Is it going to be the one that really propels Harley Davidson into the future? No, I don't think so. Definitely don't think so. The engine will be, but not this bike. But let us know your thoughts. Let us know your comments on this as well. I mean, I could be wrong. I usually am on these. Let's just here we go. Josh, you just need to look at their technology and power plant. The models will differ and come later. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I've been saying that the whole time. There will be differences here. There will be differences of this bike. There will be differences of there'll be variations of this bike. There'll be different models with this engine as well. Convinced. If I was looking at the Pan America, I would say they need to make a smaller variant of that. If I was looking at Harley Davidson, I would say, okay, this is all well and good. Bringing out Sportster S and a Pan America, but where is your small CC engine bike, your entry level bike? Where is that? Because no matter, I've said this in previous videos as well, previous live streams as well, other manufacturers who are signature manufacturers are also looking at bringing out mid-size motorcycles, 500cc motorcycles, 400cc motorcycles. They're all doing it, to add, not take away from what they produce, but add to what they produce. And this, I've always said, Harley Davidson are dramatically losing out on that. And if we're talking a numbers game here, right? They won't get many sales from the Pan America and also the Sportster S. They will from older people, but not from younger people. And those are the ones that are going to be buying in the future, let's say. I can't see many older people buying this Sportster S. I really can't. I could be wrong, but I doubt it. I doubt it. So it's going to be younger people. Well, they're going to try and aim it at younger people. Younger people, possibly. But how many young people do you know have got £15,000 to spend on a bike? Not many. Not many young people have got the credit for a £15,000 bike or dollar bike or whatever. So, yeah, look, let's reserve judgment. Can't wait to ride it myself. Can't wait to have a look at it in person and get a close-up view of it. Just as I was impressed when I saw the Pan America up in person and I rode it in person, possibly I'll be impressed by this as well. But sorry, I'm getting a bit of a sore throat here. But we shall see. We shall see. Anyway, listen, thanks for joining me on this morning breakfast show. I quite like doing this. Actually, I've got the rest of the day now to do whatever I need to do. But so thanks for joining. And yeah, there's been a lot of backlash out there, definitely, for the Harley Davidson Sportster S. People against the direction of the company, people against the price of this, people of the style, the styling, what it can do, what, you know. So lots of people are not enamored with it. I'm kind of indifferent to it. I think I'd ask lots of questions. There's lots of things a little bit fuzzy, a bit frustrating, or a bit mixed up about it. I think a little bit for me. But look, it could be a great seller. It could be a great bike. We'll soon find out when people start riding it, start test riding it, and when owners get themselves on it and then start giving us the real facts, the day-to-day living with the Sportster S, what they feel about it. And that's when you'll really know if it's a good bike. And then obviously the sales figures. We'll know if this is selling like hotcakes or not, for the long period, But it's going to have to go a long way before it is anywhere near the success and the influence of the Sportster. That's a big ask, isn't it? It's a big ask anyway. But anyway, listen, thanks for joining this morning. And if you're watching this after, please leave your comments as well and ask any questions. And if there's anything you'd like me to discuss in future live streams as well, let us know your thoughts there as well. But subscribe and hit that bell next to the channel as well for all the future videos and future live streams. You'll get a notification from as well. And well, like and share and check out the website revelatoralf.com. Lots of information there, as you know, the members area. I'm just about to go and pick up some new equipment now, and I'm going to be making a couple of videos the next couple of days of testing that equipment and possibly putting it on my bike as well. But anyway, if you want to watch that, then obviously you're going to have to sign up to the channel as well to get all the videos, early view videos on the members area. Right, but thanks for watching, and I'll see you again. Cheers. Bye.